Hi guys, so welcome to another episode of Become a Cloud Contact Center Engineer series, right? In today's video, we are going to talk about some three key stuff that is very critical when it comes to your contact center operations. The first thing we are going to talk about is something we call hours of operation, and then we will talk about queues, and then we will end with routing profiles. If you are new here, kindly do also watch our previous videos, yes, and then jump onto the train and become a contact center engineer. So let's just start with our hours of operation. So when we talk about hours of operation is pretty much the time, right, to which your contact center is active. So hours of operation kind of defines when or the time in which your call center is live or is active, right? So say you have a call center and then you want the call center to be in operations from Monday through to Friday. You can define that in your hours of operations, right? So say you want your call centers to work on a specific days, you do all those configuration as part of your hours of operation. By default, when you create any account, there is one that we reference as the basic hours. You have the room to create your own hours of operation as you want. You can create plenty or a lot of hours of operation depending on your use case and all. So looking at these hours of operation, what we have here is we pretty much select the date and then the time, so you define it, and then after that you then integrate that into your block, which we are going to do in the coming episode after going through all these things. So that's all that you got to know with your hours of operation. One key thing you have to understand is Amazon Connect gives you room to select your time zone, right? So for example, if you're in America, New York, or if you're working in Africa, Accra, or Addis Ababa, whatever time zone you are in, you can set it up. And then your call center is going to work or operate in that said time zone. So that's pretty much it. If you want to create a new one, you simply click on this, add, you give your hours for operation a name, and then you click on save. So that's all that there is. For this tutorial, I'm just going to maintain our basic hours of operation for whatever we do. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to talk about is something in reference as queues. So queues are pretty much, as I discussed, they are the waiting area, right? Where people like callers or contacts wait as they are waiting to be connected to an agent. So you can have multiple queues depending on the use case you are building. So for example, we have a call center and then we want to we have three branches, right? One is for finance, one is for education, and then the other one be for say what should I say HR. So let me just quickly create a dummy flow. So what I can do is I can just have a simple contact center like this, and I'm telling my people that upon three options, right? Upon pressing one or two, yes, let me just use two. If they press one, I want them one to go to a specific set of agents, right? Which we'll talk more about. So I can create a queue and then I will set those queues in here just like this. So if you press one, I'm transferring them to that queue, and then if you press two, I'm transferring them to that queue. So queue is just pretty much that's the waiting area. How then do you create a queue? You just click on add queue and then you give your queue a name. So in this case, let me do a finance queue, which is optional. And then one key thing you have to notice when you are creating a queue, you're required to set an hours of operation for that queue, right? So that the queue in itself will be operational. So this is it. Another set of configuration that you can work with it. If you want to allow outbound calls, right? If you want your queue, that is agents to be able to place outbound calls, they should be able to call customers. You have to set your outbound caller number, which you can select from the drop down. Yes, and then you select your outbound flow. Since I haven't created a flow, remember during our flow section, I mentioned that if you don't have any flow, you will basically fall down to the default flow. So I can use this. I'm not configuring email channel yet, so I can simply do this, and then that'll be it. In the subsequent videos, I'll probably talk about quick connect. So just like, subscribe, and then wait for us. So this is pretty much it with a queue. So you have just one queue as our finance queue, and then I can add another queue. Let me call this one the education, right? So give it the same hours of operation. So I want my queue to be able to perform outbound calls. So I'll select the default flow. Yes. And then this for now, and then simply click on save. Alright, so these are my two queues. And then there you have it. So inside your flow, right, if you are making use of a queue, that is if you want to route them to, you can just come in there and then you select your queue. And then that is it. The next thing will be to transfer to that queue block. If you want agent to be able to receive calls from this queue, you will just simply do this. But that's not the focus of this class. You will go back again to our contact flow you've been working with. I just want you guys to see how simple it is. So this is it. Yeah, for example, if I want to check the hours of operation also in my flow, there is a block called hours of operation block, right? That I can bring in. Then I will simply select this. Then I'll bring in my hours of operation confirm. If it's in hours means if the call center is active, just come in here. And then if it's out of hours, for now, I don't want to do anything. I just want to disconnect. So what this will mean that if you call into this line and then it's in hours being that if the call center is live, just come through or disconnect. That's just a simple thing with these two things. Alright, now the next thing I'll quickly love to talk about is the last, and which is going to be routing profiles. When we talk about routing profile is this. It's somehow connected to agents, that is the users in your account, and then the queues. So routing profiles, kinda, as the name implies, determines the route, right? That a specific contact goes to be connected to a specific agent. So routing profiles just shows that, oh, I'm in the educational queue, right? That we created. Which agent am I going to, right? That is defined in the routing profiles. So pretty much once we get to the agent creating, you guys will understand that we will have to associate these routing profiles with the agents so that the agent will be able to get those calls. If you create any account, by default there is a basic routing profile too. So let me quickly open the basic routing profile. You have rooms of creating your own profiles too. And now they've made changes to the interface. You're able to see the number of agents associated to this routing profile. Each agent is able to be in just a single routing profile each time. Yeah, so this is one of the routing profiles, the basic routing profile. So if you come into the basic routing profile, what you're able to do first is you're able to determine the channel, right? When we talk about the channel, remember I said connect is omni-channel. It supports multiple channels, chats, voice, chat, task, and email, right? So on this page, what you can see is with voice, we are saying that if you have a cross, if someone is say on voice, you don't want to allow any other channel to work. If say I'm on voice and then I want other channels to work, I can enable that configuration. And then you're able to select the number of contacts per agent. So how many contacts can an agent handle at a time? With voice, an agent can only handle one, but for chat and the other channels, agents can handle multiple stuff at a time. So that is pretty much it. So this is where it's very important to note. So in your routing profile, you can associate multiple queues and then give them priorities, right? Remember, the routing profile is connected or linked to your agents. So if you're able to, if you have multiple queues and then say you have a specific, just one agent who you've kind of trained to answer calls from multiple queues, what you can do is to add the queues here in this routing profile. So if you look by default, the basic routing profile has the basic queue. I can choose to add another queue, right? Say my educational queue to this routing profile. And then I'll say for my educational, I want this to be priority too. So what this means is if this agent, if a call comes in from the basic queue and then there is another call from the educational queue, the basic queue will be prioritized over this, right? If I want to add some delays as to the time which the call gets to the agent, I can add those necessary configurations and all. Yes, this is very important. Every routing profile, right? Because we want agents to be able to place an outbound call, every routing profile requires a default outbound queue, right? So in your default outbound queue, in there is a number associated with the flow. Remember, we selected in our queue, we selected a phone number, and then we're able to make use of that number in here. So if you come into the basic queue, let me select one of the queues I created. You realize that we selected the default outbound number. So what this means in the routing profile is, you see the routing profile has this basic queue selected. So if you are placing any outbound call, it goes through the basic queue and then uses that phone number to initiate the call. So that is something that you have to note with regards to routing profiles also. So I'm going to save my routing profile. If you want to create a new one, just click on add, and then you give your routing profile a name. You just enable the channels you want to work, right? You just enable it. You can add your queues, and then you do whatever you want to do, and then you save it. So that's pretty much it for hours of operations, basic queues, and then routing profile. In the next video, we're going to talk more about agents, and then we bring all these pieces together into our call center solution. That's the Tech Pro contact center that we are working on. If you are here to build the contact flows that we've been building all so far, just look at the episode 2 video. It's a bit lengthy, but kindly go through it. You'll learn a couple of things from in depth, and then we'll meet in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and then let's meet in the next video.